Hi, audience. It's your Ate Sapphire. If you want to listen to the extended version of this episode, the link is in the description below.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Want to hear something scary? The Chalva.
Our first chapter is inspired by true events that happened to Gaurav from India. This happened when I was about 11 years old and lived with my 17-year-old sister Manika and my grandmother. I was sitting at the table eating dinner with my grandma when Manika quickly rushed inside. "You're home late," Grandma commented, but Manika didn't respond. Grandma called over to her to join us for dinner, but she just walked right past us and straight to her room. "Teenagers, so moody," Grandma said. I was pretty close to my sister. We weren't that far apart in age, and we could usually talk about anything. She did have a tendency to be moody, but I could feel that something was different about tonight. So after dinner, I gently knocked on her door and asked if everything was okay. "I just need to be alone right now." I shrugged and headed to my own room, followed by our family dog, Snoopy. I laid in bed, but was having a hard time falling asleep. I felt really anxious and restless for some reason. I didn't understand why. Hours went by and I had given up on trying to fall asleep. I decided to take Snoopy out for a 3 a.m. walk. The neighborhood was quiet and calm. Snoopy was happily sniffing around. Then I heard a rustling from a bush a couple meters in front of us. From the bushes emerged what looked like a mangy black dog. There were a lot of strays in this part of town, so I wasn't too surprised and continued forward. But Snoopy wasn't moving. I looked down and was shocked to see him low on the ground, sneering. "It's just a dog, Snoop," I said as I yanked on his leash. But Snoopy was not budging. His sneering turned into growling. I looked back towards the stray dog and watched as the dark figure stood up, reaching its full height. That was no dog. At this point, Snoopy was barking wildly at the creature. I pulled his leash and ran in the opposite direction. I could hear the booming footsteps of that thing chasing after us.
"Why don't you play with me?"
It asked tauntingly. I refused to turn around or speak to it. My grandmother was a very spiritual person, and she had always told me to never engage with a spirit that's trying to get your attention. That's how you invite them into your life. So I just kept running, Snoopy following closely by my side. Luckily, my neighborhood had a lot of temples, almost one every 200 meters. I ran towards one of them and slammed the door shut behind me. I waited and listened. The footsteps outside slowed down and came to a halt. "I'll come back for you." I fell to the ground and caught my breath. Snoopy and I stayed there until the sun rose. When we got back to our house, my grandmother and sister were already at the dining room table eating breakfast. "I saw something last night. It was this thing. It was chasing us." I was struggling to find the words to describe what I saw, but even then, my grandmother knew what it was. "You didn't talk to it, did you?" "No, of course not. But, Grandma, what was that?" "It was most likely a Chalva. It means illusionist or a shapeshifter. They're created when an unborn child dies and the respected ceremonies aren't performed. And since the child's spirit couldn't take a good earthly form, they inhabit whatever form they can. Usually, a malicious one." Manika covered her mouth. This seemed to really be upsetting her. "Where did you see the Chalva?" Grandma asked. "Out by that field where the stray dogs usually are." "Ah, that makes sense. There used to be a hospital over there. It was shut down when they discovered that a doctor was performing unauthorized abortions." Manika burst into tears. "What's wrong, Manika? You've been acting so strangely lately."
"That Chalva, it's my fault. I'm so sorry, Gaurav."
Manika ran back to her room. My grandma told me that she was just being moody, but it wasn't until a few years later that I fully understood what had happened that night. Want more something scary? You can listen to the extended version of this episode on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. The link is in the description below. Like and share this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, sweet dreams.